Now, China and the U.S. have issued a joint statement on tackling the climate crisis. It was issued after talks in Shanghai between Xie Zhenhua, China's special envoy for climate change affairs, and U.S. climate envoy Kerry. Guan Chao has more.
China and the United States have reached an agreement on climate despite strained relations. In a joint statement, the two sides say they will work together on the climate crisis, saying it's an urgent global issue. The two nations will work together to strengthen implementation of the Paris Agreement, keeping the global average temperature increase below 2 degrees Celsius and further limiting it below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Both countries look forward to the U.S.-hosted Leaders' Summit on climate next week. China and the U.S. will take other actions in the short term, including developing respective long-term strategies on net zero greenhouse gas emissions and carbon neutrality, maximizing international investment to support the transition from carbon-intensive fossil fuel to low-carbon and renewable energy in developing countries, and phasing down hydrofluorocarbon production and consumption. Those countries will continue to discuss actions to reduce emissions in various perspectives, like the circular economy and green transportation. The two sides will cooperate to promote a successful climate change conference in Glasgow and a UN Biodiversity Conference in Kunming. This is a busy period for climate talks. At a virtual summit earlier this week, Chinese President Xi Jinping discussed climate change with French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Next week, there will be the Earth Summit Day, and the Biden administration is expected to release new ambitious targets, a sharp change from the policies of Donald Trump. In September, Xi Jinping told the 75th session of the UN General Assembly that China would step up its transition to low-carbon development and take more vigorous action to achieve a peak in CO2 emissions by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060. Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Le Yucheng said achieving these targets is no easy task for a developing country.
Some countries are asking China to fast forward the process. That, I am afraid, is not very realistic. When it comes to climate response, China is at a stage different from that of the US and developed European countries. We are still a primary school student, while the US and other developed countries are already in middle school. So it is against the natural course of development if you ask these two groups of students to graduate at the same time.
The recent climate talks came as tense China-US relations were further frayed by a joint statement by the US and Japan. It was issued by the U.S. President Joe Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, who met at the same time as Kerry's Shanghai visit. They criticized China on a number of controversial issues, including the Taiwan region. China considers the statement to be interference to its domestic affairs. Le Yucheng warned the U.S. not to cross China's red line.
The Taiwan issue bears China's core interests. We absolutely have no room for compromise on that. China firmly opposes any form of official engagement between the United States and Taiwan. The US should not play the Taiwan card. It is a dangerous card. It is also China's red line. We will not allow the US and Taiwan to cross that red line.
Guan Chao, CGTN.